Right, the Circuit of Death strikes again. Pretty much the only track with an almost 100% guaranteed crash rate. Almost every race I do here has a major incident. So this track is definitely not one for the week, and you need a shit ton of practice before you even step foot on it. And so, as any other sane human on the planet, I decided to wake up, and first thing I don't even eat breakfast, I go and start doing races. For some reason, I thought that was a brilliant idea. Anyway, going into the first race, I start in P7, so as the clock starts ticking, the car line up, it's lights out and away we go. If I want to win this, I'm gonna have to do a lot of work, but given this is my first race and I barely even opened my eyes, I don't think I'm gonna do good. So I'm waiting for my morning coffee to kick in, but it's gonna take its time. So approaching turn 1, of course I'm gonna be looking for an opportunity, but I'm not even close enough. So yeah, kind of dive in, but again, I'm not even close enough to take off a move, and I dip my wheel into the curb, and that just slows me down a bunch. As I almost spin because I dipped my wheels too far into the curb, and that section is where I fail. A lot of oversteer, a lot of loss of grip. As we go into turn 4 and 5, you can see I'm braking and I'm looking for an opportunity. I'm very close, but there was no opportunity there, as the German driver almost sensed an overtake, but it was not an optimal position for him. So my superior exit speed, it helps me get away from him and focus more on the pack up ahead. So you can see the German is not close enough for a move into the next corner, and I'm currently like widening the gap, so it's not gonna be a concern for a while, as I'm getting closer to the Supra up front as he almost spun, going onto the red section where that's again where you lose grip. I smash on the brake as soon as I hit the tree cover, and I look for the optimum corner. As you can see, the Supra driver going a little wide, giving me the perfect opportunity to slip down his inside as he goes again for a skill issue and nearly ramming into me, but that's fine, no issues at all. A bit of rubbing, but nothing too major, as he goes for his spin, and I think he disconnects. And the legend writes itself. I make a mistake immediately, and I clip the wall into the exit of the death corner. Chicane of Death, I believe it's called, and I immediately lose 2 positions purely because of that silly mistake. And to be fair, it could have been much worse, so I won't complain. Wrapping up lap 1, pretty much where I began. The driver behind, is just sending the overtake, the same German driver from there. And I cannot really do much, as I have an injured front end of the car, and I cannot really take right-handers very nicely. I'm gonna have to wait until the damage repairs, which should be just before turn 1, as I make overtake on that Supra. It is the same Italian driver that spun. It's not him who disconnected, or somebody else. A lot of salt going here, so going into turn 1, he's gonna be looking for an overtake, obviously. But overtaking in this corner is very tricky because it's a chicane-like corner where you have to go right and then left. I mean, no, left and right, so being on the inside of one corner, you're gonna be on the outside of the other, and the optimal way into that corner is to be on the outside of the first corner of the chicane sequence. So pretty much I had it in the bag, and there was pretty much no concern of an overtake there, so I retained my position, and I'm looking to overtake the German up ahead. And going into this SS section, it's very easy to catch up, but overtaking is very difficult also. But you can set up a nice overtake into the chicane, into the corner up front. The semi-hairpin, or is it the full hairpin? I have no idea actually. It looks like a hairpin and feels like a 90-degree right hand. So call it whatever you want, but I get a nice setup and I get very close on the German up ahead. And I'm looking for an overtake opportunity as I immediately switch and dive down the inside. That was a very nice overtake from my side. And not really he can do in terms of defense, because on Chicane of Death, overtaking there is absolutely crazy, and 9 times out of 10, I would like to say almost 10 times out of 10, it will result in the death of both parties, or at least one of them. So you kind of have to play chill and not go for any skill issues, as I demonstrate one immediately right here. I had a bit of oversteer and I overcorrected it, slamming straight into the wall. After spinning like a ballerina, I lose even more positions and go back all the way to P12, so it's very nice to see. This race is pretty much one in the bin and not one to be proud of at all. So I'm trying to salvage whatever I can of the accident I had, and I'm looking onto the Supra, and then you have the Norwegian driver with the McLaren, and then you have the Spanish driver behind. I'm trying to get closer to them. I'm definitely faster, but I still haven't found my way around the Chicane of Death yet. And that's gonna take a bit of time, a bit more trial and error, so I'm not sure when I'm gonna get the hang of it fully, but I'm gonna look for an overtake everywhere else and try to sacrifice the Chicane of Death for reliability, as the McLaren driver sacrificed his entire race for my sake. I'm absolutely proud of him. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice the Chicane of Death and try to be more consistent with it while I push everywhere else on the track. I'll just not be pushing on that chicane at all, just purely to preserve my face water. As I go for a purple into sector 1, I'm looking to set a similar type of overtake on the Toyota up ahead, the same one as I did on the Porsche, but I'm not close enough for it right now. I'm getting very close, and down on the slipstream I will be right on his tail, and I'm already on his tail. I'm gonna look for bump draft. I give him a little tap, and that makes him speed up and it increases chances of making a mistake because of, you know, unexpected speed. But he brakes perfectly and covers the inside, so I didn't have much to do. I'm on the backhand right here and trying to salvage again what I lost from all the incidents I had into the chicane of death. As I look for another round here over here, I make another mistake and slam into the wall. They say third time is a charm, but clearly not for me, as I have demonstrated 3 constant skill issues into the same corner and still haven't got the hang of it. But you know, 5 minutes into the race, I guess my coffee is starting to kick in and I'm just overall a bit more active, as this driver goes for an absolute nuke of a dive. He takes out the McLaren driver and himself, so again, that's another sacrifice for me. Again, very proud of the drivers up here. As you know, I skipped to the final lap. I managed to catch up to the pack in front, you know, the Supra. I'm a quick driver, I'm just not fully awake yet. But one thing for sure, the coffee is kicking in and I'm just overall more active. My brain is firing up its neurons and I'm looking for an overtake because we don't have much of a circuit. We have a third of a lap. And I don't really have much aside from the chicane of death. That's pretty much the only place where I can get close to the drivers, and yes, I get very close, straight on the Supra's tail. I'm looking to somehow make a move into the hairpin there. 2 overtakes into that hairpin. Not very easy as one covers the inside and the other covers the outside. I was forced to dive in the middle and he gives me a little shunt. I nearly spin, but I collect it, and you can see the Audi driver just with the better exit. He goes there because he didn't have to correct the mistake that he made and pushed me out and nearly killed me, but I saved myself. So I finish in 10th and we can roll it to the second race, which I started on 5th, and as the cars line up, the clock starts ticking, lights out, and away we go. Tucking immediately behind the German up ahead, I'm just gonna be looking to change my brake balance to where I feel comfortable and just catch up to the German with the slipstream I have, but you can see I'm not even close to make a move, and he did have the better acceleration, or what? No, the Porsche has the better acceleration. Well, they both have Porsches, as the Lamborghini goes for a dive down my inside, nearly sends me off the track, but I managed to keep it nice and composed, and I lose 2 positions in the process as the German driver, you know, he went for an assassination attempt, wasn't successful, but the damages were still done. Anyway, going into 4 and 5, I make a swift overtake of the German driver. Very quick reaction from my side, and that led me to overtaking him into the corner. He does give me a little tap. He didn't really see me there, and it's an unexpected move, to be fair. So back into P5 I go, and I'm looking to catch up to the pack up ahead. You can see the pack up ahead, everyone is pretty much there. So there is nobody who's too far into the lead, and they seem nicely competitive. So by the time I catch up to them, I hope there is no fragmentation and they'll all still be in one pack, because that means I could basically make one move and overtake all 5 cars if I'm lucky enough. And that sort of move through goes Hamilton requires a fuck ton of patience. So going into this hairpin-like corner, I do manage to close the gap down a little as one driver spun, but then you can say there's still quite the distance ahead as we go through the infamous chicane of death. This time I learned my lesson and I learned how to not die on the circuit, as the Lamborghini driver demonstrated a slight skill issue by ramming into the wall, giving him a little speed nerf, allowing me to overtake him on the outside of this corner. So he's definitely going to be looking to make a dive or at least somehow defend it, but he wasn't close enough, and that gave me the position and the optimal line into the exit of the corner, where he's going to stay on the backhand and behind me, looking to slipstream and maybe look for an overtake back into turn 1. So you can see even the pack, the 2 German drivers, they're a little fragmented. Usually they'd be, you know, in a pack like slipstream pack, but they were side by side, which is quite unusual to see on a straight. I brake just as the red bit starts, and I'm looking to just catch up and like be on the tail of one of the Porsches at least, and that is sort of working, as I nearly kill myself in the process by going over the curb and a little too over, dipping my wheels in the curb endings. Every corner of this track has a booby trap that will end your race very quickly, so you must be absolutely precise with every input you make, and you need to make sure you always must keep a sort of buffer or comfort zone where you can make a slight mistake and not dip your wheels into one of many death traps on its track. So you must be absolutely, again, precise and make sure you leave that comfort or buffer zone. In terms of forgivingness, this track never forgives and will happily kill you over and over and over again. So I'm well within the reach of the Porsche up in front, and I could make a move here as I'm pretty much on his tail. So I go for the move down the inside. You can see him being a little greedy by attempting to fully block me on the inside, but I did not let him do that, as you know, we had a bit of rubbing. But you know the saying, rubbing's racing. As I go purple into sector 2, I'm looking to chase the German up ahead, and I'm being very precise with chicane of death. I'm leaving a lot of buffer zone, way more than optimal, and I'm actually, again, just fully taking it safely, not even trying to push there. I pushed everywhere else but Chicane of Death. As the Porsche driver is very close to behind, he's gonna attempt to go for a move. He just dips his nose and just goes down the inside and takes the opposition. I didn't fight it too much because I know I can just overtake him somewhere else, and it's actually in my best interest if him and the Porsche up ahead, they both have a battle and I could just go sweep them both in one move. As multiple of us set the fastest lap, I think everybody had a fastest lap here between the top 4 or something. I'm not really sure because like 3 different drivers set fastest laps, and mine was 1 temporarily until it was taken by someone else. Anyway, the German driver up ahead doesn't seem to have the pace to catch up to the other German driver, who are both on the Porsche, so it's going to be a bit of a tongue twister. As you can see, he's in the imposter car, apparently an Among Us fan. As I try to aim for an optimal line, trying to lay the power all the way down, the Porsche did get the slightly better exit, but I'm still greatly within the slipstream range, and we have the SS section where I can greatly catch up. So I'm going to absolutely focus on the section, focus on the rotation while under braking, and you can see the Porsche made a slight mistake, and that just led me to becoming faster and getting the better exit. And you can see I'm just gaining and gaining and gaining, and now deeper within the slipstream. I can pretty much launch a move if I have balls big enough, but I don't think I'm close. And you can see I go for half a move, but I don't commit to it, and I just keep the brakes on and make sure I'm nice and safe. I don't commit to too many risks because I'm playing the strategy game and I'm not in a full-out war against the other drivers. I don't mind them overtaking momentarily, as I do have plans to get the position back, obviously. So from the sound of that, someone has hit the barrier. If I'm correct, it's the German driver all the way in P1. Or no, it actually was the green car, the imposter car. So that allows me to make a half a move. He actually covered that up pretty nicely, and I was forced to go for an inoptimum line, and once again he stays up ahead. It's quite good in the defense, if I'm being fair. So once again, approaching the start-finish line, we're gonna go from the 3rd to the 4th lap, and now I'm within the slipstream of the car up ahead, and I'll be catching and gaining and gaining and gaining, and I'm gonna be looking for an overtake into turn 1, where it's a bit harder to do. So I'm down his inside, I let him go, I focus more on my line, I'm not full focused on him. I attempt to go for a switcheroo, but it didn't work too well. I do have the better exit, so I'm going to be to just roll alongside him, just give him the mental pressure, and going into this corner, it was a pretty dumb move from my side to make an overtake there, because, well, it nearly ended his life, but the other German driver decided to go for an absolute skill issue and just fly into the wall, as this one somehow managed to miraculously save it. He's such a good defender and is an amazing racer, if I'm being honest. But he did gain himself a 0.5 penalty. So that will bite him and give me P1 eventually. So I'm again not too focused on overtaking him. I'm mostly focused on staying within the range where once he serves the penalty, I just immediately overtake him with no issues at all. So once again, going into this hairpin, I guess, we brake just under the tree cover or the tree shadow. I again focus on my line, most fully focus on laying the power down and making sure I get the best exit possible, as the Porsche driver does too. He's quite a good racer, so he's making it very difficult for me. And you know, catching up and overtaking are two completely different things, and it's making even catching up a little difficult as he goes for an absolute skill issue. And that pretty much ended my hopes of P1, because I slammed right into his back with no room to go left or right or try to dodge him. I pretty much give the position to the other German driver, as the Lamborghini driver is now on my tail, and I'm with a car that's very injured on the front. I got 2 suspension damage and the front aero damage, which will bite me dearly until it's repaired. And as you saw through that final corner, I was being very cautious and nursing the car, trying just to make sure it gets back home safely. So that pretty much meant Beer, the German driver, has overtook me. And now once again I'm on the backhand, but I'm gonna be looking for an overtake ASAP, because I'm very confident that I'm faster than Beer, as I almost demonstrated that perfectly into that one singular corner. You can see I'm pretty much on his bumper, ready to put pressure. I do the same overtake as I did on the German driver back there, and he kind of pushed himself into me, and there wasn't really room, really. I'm not gonna hit the brakes for him, so he goes straight into the wall. I fully lifted in an attempt to make sure both of us go through, but you know, he kind of hit my car, and then there wasn't anything. He made me go shallow. But I'm sure some of you will go in the comments and complain, so feel free. I still got the clean race bonus here, and there was pretty much no contact between me and him. So now, happily in P2, somehow Beer is still in the third position, as he loses it to the Danish driver. And now pretty much a second and a half separate me and the car up front, maybe a second point 8. I cannot really see the telemetry here. It's 2 seconds now, and it's very blurry for me, so again I cannot really see how many seconds it is exactly. But in terms of catching him, I pretty much have 2 corners left, and half of the corners being the chicane of death. and you can see clearly that was not enough to catch up to him. So my only hope is if he makes a mistake by now, because at max I will get like 0.5 seconds in that corner. So braking just before the 100 marker, I try to execute the perfect line, hugging the inside, getting early on the power, riding the curves, making sure I get the power nice and steady. No chance of overtaking him, or like no chance of even catching up to him. I end up in a nice P2, and that's pretty much podium. I mean, second is first loser, but you cannot really be pissed if you started in P5.